Pokémon Silver, arguably the greatest Pokémon game of all time. Who's making that argument? Me. However, the game itself is over 25 years old now and was never that difficult to begin with. So, like a lot of people, I've been looking at different ways to play the game to add some variety and a bit more challenge to the experience. That's why in this video I'll be playing Pokémon Silver but only using moves beginning with the letter S. Yeah, that's right, Ice Beam, banned. Thunder Punch, banned. Earthquake, Flamethrower, Rock Slide. Oh, you better believe they're banned. I can't even use Tackle. At this point you might be asking, why are you doing this? Well, it combines two of my favourite things, playing Pokemon and making spreadsheets. Of all 251 moves in the game, I can only use 52, which to be honest is a lot more than I thought, so I'm hoping that will allow me for some good flexibility with move choices. To make things a little more difficult for myself, I'm also going to borrow some of the usual Pokemon challenge rules, you know, no glitches and no mods. Yeah, I'm running this as vanilla can get. This is the Nando's Plain Chicken experience of Pokemon Silver. In trainer battles, I'm only allowed to use held items, and finally, level caps. Pokemon can't be a higher level than the next gym leader's ace Pokemon. These rules should hopefully stop this from turning into a save where I only use for Alligator, Surf and Slash. Of course, I can use HM moves that don't begin with S, like Cut, outside the battle, so I can progress through the game. So I think that's everything explained. What are we waiting for? Time to wake up? Hey you, you're finally awake. Right, so we start the game as normal and go and talk to Professor Elm in his lab. I ignore the strange ginger kid staring through the lab window, as he's probably just a budding young scientist, and honestly we need more kids taking an interest in STEM these days. The only starter Pokemon that begins the game with a move that begins with the letter S is Totodile with Scratch, so that makes my choice easy. I meet Mr. Pokemon and gives me the mystery egg to take back to Professor Elm. I also speak to Professor Oak, who literally cannot believe he's meeting a kid with a rare Pokemon like he doesn't just give rare Pokemon to anyone who walks in off the street. He gives me a Pokédex and asks me to complete it, something I've legitimately only done once in nearly 3 decades of playing Pokemon games. I don't like your chances, mate. When I leave Mr. Pocket Monster's house, Elm calls me and seems flustered, so I rush back home. I bump into the ginger kid on the way and he challenges me to a Pokemon battle. It turns out that he's not an aspiring researcher but a common thief. Huh, it's always the ones you least expect. I beat him narrowly with a bunch of scratches and an assist from a held berry, and return to the lab to snitch on him. I name my rival Zed, the natural enemy of the letter S, when your spell checker defaults to US English rather than UK and keeps flagging your spelling of words like optimization. Now I know what you're thinking, there must be loads of other Pokemon that learn Scratch on the early routes, right? No. There are exactly, 0. Yep, that's right, 0. I was actually going to catch a Sentret here, but for Generation 2 only, Sentret starts with Tackle. Weirdly, the wild Furret you can catch from Route 1 later in the game start with Scratch, so I don't know what's going on there. The Pokemon overall is pretty useless, but I would have liked at least one more Pokemon capable of dealing damage early on. The first one I actually catch is Pidgey. This is exclusively for the use of Sand Attack, which it learns at level 5. This should give me a little bit more time to play with in these early gyms. Okay, the most difficult challenge I'm having already is figuring out how to keep my Pokemon from overleveling before the first gym leader, Faulkner. His ace is only level 9, which is absolutely ridiculous to be honest. It's like he won a competition where the prize was the chance to be a gym leader for a day. To make matters worse, Pidgey doesn't have any attacking moves, so I can't level him up without giving Totodile experience as well. After a few test runs where I go into the gym either too high leveled or too weak, I work out that if I catch Pidgey at level 4 and then battle all the trainers on Route 30 and 31 without defeating any wild Pokemon on the way, that should be the best way to manage both of them. I'll have to do Sprout Tower later. I face Faulkner with Totodile at level 9 and Pidgey at level 8. The strategy is to send out Pidgey to Sand Attack until the opponent's accuracy is shot, and then sweep up with Totodile. This works really well until I miscount the number of Sand Attacks I need to use and Pidgeotto hits me with a critical hit. Let's try that again. Trying again, this time I send out Totodile straight away for Faulkner's Pidgey, and he makes easy work of it. Then I send out my own Pidgey to Sand Attack Faulkner's Pidgeotto until it turns into Anakin Skywalker. Once its accuracy can't go any lower, I switch back to Totodile. Incredibly, Pidgeotto still hits me with 3 consecutive gusts, but a nicely timed crit allows me to escape with the win and the first badge. Before going to Sprout Tower, I go to Route 32 to catch my next 2 Pokemon. I wait until night because I want to catch Wooper. Wooper can learn Slam at level 11, so this will be a great second attacker to have against Bugsy. During this time I also catch a Bellsprout. Bellsprout can learn Sleep Powder at level 15. The level cap for the next gym is 16, so this could come in handy. I enter Sprout Tower, leveling up Wooper by switching between it and Totodile. When I face the Elder, I start by sending out Pidgey to Sand Attack Bellsprout. Vine Whip is a move that only has 10 power points, so the idea is to force Bellsprout to use all its PP attacking Pidgey, missing often and resisting damage when it does hit. I also add in a couple of switches to my own Bellsprout to take some of the damage too. Once it's safe, Totodile can then take them out using Scratch. I repeat this for the second Bellsprout, then Hoothoot is easy enough for Totodile to deal with on its own. At level 11, Wooper finally learns Slam. Slam is a move which has double the power of Scratch, but only has 75% accuracy. This feels more like 50% accuracy with how often it misses, but this is one of the only options I have for attacks early in the game. Okay, listen up folks, this next bit is very important because I almost failed the challenge here. You know how when you get to Azalea Town you have the option to speak to Kurt and do the Slowpoke World Dungeon? Well, if you're trying this challenge yourself, don't do this yet. Why? Well, after saving all the Slowpokes, Zed appears next time I head towards Ilex Forest and challenges me to a battle. The problem here is that he has a Ghastly. Ghastly is a ghost type Pokemon which I cannot hit with normal type moves. At this stage, all of my damaging moves are normal type, meaning that I can't do any damage, meaning that it is impossible for me to win this battle, meaning that I fail the challenge. Rewinding back a bit, what I actually have to do when I first arrive in town is head to Ilex Forest and catch a Paras. Paras is unique because the first two moves it learns both begin with S, Scratch and Stun Spore. This will be critical for reasons I will explain later. See if you can guess in the comments below in the meantime. First, it's time for Bugsy, the second gym leader. This goes about as well as I could have hoped for. Wooper takes out Metapod with Slam, then I switch into Bellsprout to Sleep Powder first turn on Kakuna, allowing Wooper to safely knock it out without the threat of Poison Sting. I switch back into Bellsprout and again find success with a first turn Sleep Powder on Scyther. That allows me to copy the rest of the strategy from the first gym. Switch to Pidgey, Sand Attack until Scyther's accuracy can't go any lower, switch to Totodile to Scratch until I get the win. Nicely done. Now it's time for the next battle with Zed. Remember how I said it was critical that Paras starts with two moves beginning with the letter S? Well, I prepare for the battle by battling wild Pokemon to use up all of the PP on both moves, which allows me to use Struggle. In this game, Struggle is a typeless move, meaning that unlike normal type moves, it hits ghost type Pokemon. I can't do this with any of my other Pokemon, as by now they have all learned moves that do not begin with the letter S, so I can't use up the PP on those moves without breaking the rules. Therefore, without this Paras, I fail the challenge, the run ends, video over. All hail our new Lord and Saviour. Our newly found Lord and Saviour starts the battle, and the strategy works perfectly. Struggle hits for significant damage, and the level 12 Ghastly only has weak moves. The idiot AI even uses Spike for some reason, even though I am out of PP on all of my moves. Paras knocks out Ghastly and fulfills the prophecy. Next is Zubat. Zubat does manage to confuse Wooper, but I've come prepared with a held Bitterberry to recover from that immediately. Wooper KOs Zubat, and we move on to his final Pokemon, Bayleaf. Bayleaf is a huge danger to my two water types with Razor Leaf. Poison Powder can also be an issue if it hits, as I'm not dealing massive amounts of damage at the moment. So, this becomes a true team effort, with Pidgey using all of its sand attacks in an effort to make Bayleaf use up as many of its Razor Leaf PP as possible. Bellsprout then comes in when I need to use Sleep Powder to guarantee a safe switch, and Totodile and Wooper share dealing the damage. With their powers combined, we beat Zed, who still calls us a weakling despite losing to someone who can't use any super effective attacks yet. You might observe that I've been heavily reliant on the Sleep Powder Sand Attack combination for the difficult battle so far. Once we reach the 4th gym, this should change, but we all know what's coming before that. The next stop is Goldenrod City. I visit all of the usual tourist stops. I get the bicycle from the bike shop, the radio card from the radio tower, and a fresh fade for my Totodile from the barber shop in the underground. I also pick up the coin case while I'm down there, and before Ray Winstone can tell me to gamble responsibly, I head straight to the game corner and collect my next Pokemon. I spend literally all of the money I've earned up until this point on 700 coins to cash in for a Sandshrew. I can no longer afford to eat, but who needs food when you can have coverage against electric types? I spend some time in the surrounding area battling trainers to level up my party. During this time, I evolve both Totodile and Pidgey. I also teach Pidgey the TM for Swift, which I found in Union Cave, finally giving it a move that can deal damage. In other preparation for the next gym, I give Sandshrew the pink bow obtained from Tuscany on Tuesday. Try saying that 5 times quickly. And the Bellsprout the quick claw given to me in the national park. It's Whitney, b****. Clefairy gets handled quite easily by Croconaw, despite its metronome turning into a sand attack on me in a how the turntables kind of moment. Then it's the big one, Miltank, one of the most infamous ace Pokemon in the main game series due to its tankiness and strong moveset for this stage of the game. My aim is to get its accuracy down before it has the chance to get rollout going. I get lucky as Bellsprout's Quick Claw allows it to use Sleep Powder before Miltank could get an attack in, allowing a safe switch to Sandshrew. Sandshrew is my sand attacker in chief for this battle and doesn't disappoint, using all 6 sand attacks I need to minimise Miltank's accuracy before its same type bonus stomp knocks it out. Then Pidgeotto comes out. Despite Miltank catching it in a tract, the same type bonus Swift hits multiple times to bring it down to the red. But then of course, Miltank uses Milk Drink twice to bring its health back to nearly full. I'm starting to get immobilised by attacks more often, so I switch back to Bellsprout. Bellsprout sends the tank back to sleep, and a critical hit means Pidgeotto can finish the job after 2 more turns. Badge 3? Done. After waking up and then running away from the dancing tree, I arrive in Ecruteak City. Again, there's lots of things to do here, but I start with the Kimono Girls. I'm not sure how I would feel if I was at a theatre and the dance show I was watching was interrupted by a randomer throwing zoo animals on stage. But this one guy liked it so much that they gave me the HM for Surf. Surf is a water type move, meaning that A, I now have a move that can have type advantage, and B, I can finally damage ghost type Pokemons without requiring an intervention from our Lord and Saviour, who ascends to the heavenly paradise known as Box 1. Heading further into the city, Zed is hiding inside the burned tower. The ghost type Haunter is much more straightforward now thanks to Surf. It does however put a curse on Croconaw, so I changed to Whipper for Magnemite. Magnemite nearly KOs Whipper in 3 turns with Sonic Boom, so I changed to Sandshrew to finish it off. Bellsprout sends Bayleaf into a deep sleep, and then Pidgeotto KOs that and Zubat to send Zed packing once again. While I'm inside the tower, I catch a Coughing. I like Coughing in its save, because some of the moves it learns, namely Smog and Sludge, have the ability to poison Pokemon, adding another dimension to the attacks. And I guess if all else fails, I can blow myself up. Whoa, spoilers! I also level up Wooper until it evolves into Quagsire. The next gym leader is Morty. Croconaw's Surf knocks out Ghastly and his first Haunter easily, but Haunter puts a curse on Croconaw, so I switch out to Quagsire. Then things start to go wrong. Very wrong. Oh god. Seriously? How do these hypnosis keep hitting first time? Come on. Alright, let's try that again in a minute. I work out what I need here is a Mint Berry to have Croconaw hold to wake itself up, so I head west to Route 39 to grab one. Attempt 2 at Morty. Ghastly goes down to a Surf. Haunter 1 is faster than Croconaw and gets a Nightshade off, which spooks me so I change to Quagsire. Quagsire then gets put to sleep and can't wake up before Nightshade knocks it out. I send out my Bellsprout to put Haunter to sleep, then send Croconaw back out to finish it off. Gengar comes out and wastes a turn using Mean Look, but Surf does less than half damage. Gengar uses Hypnosis turn 2, and the held Mint Berry wakes Croconaw up straight away to use Surf again. But now I'm worried about turn 3. Mercifully, Gengar's second Hypnosis misses, allowing me to knock it out. Haunter 2 takes 2 Surfs to go down, and Morty is defeated. The game opens up now. I choose to head towards Olivine City because it's time to complete the team that I'll be using from here on out. Firstly, I pick up the Goodrod and catch a Chinchou from Olivine Harbour. Chinchou learns the only electric type move I can use in this challenge, Spark, at level 25. This is going to be vital for beating the Elite Four. In Olivine, I also pick up the HM for Strength. I want to teach it to a strong physical attacker, preferably one that is also normal type, so I can also get the same type attack bonus. I have the perfect Pokemon in mind. With Miltank caught, it's time to settle my party for the long haul. It's finally time to retire Quagsire. This is because I now have 2 other Pokemon that can learn Surf, Croconaw and Chinchou, and its other attack, Slam, has slowly been boiling my piss for the past 10 game hours. Pidgeotto is also benched, as Miltank is going to be stronger moving forwards, and Sandshrew also has Sand Attack if I still want to use that strategy. Speaking of Sandshrew, I hold it back from evolving for 1 level so that it can learn Slash earlier. Slash is a great move. It has strong attack power with a high critical hit ratio. We're rolling now. I head to the lighthouse, but as Miltank is my new best friend now, I stop off at the farm first to heal one of her cousins. My stint as an animal doctor is not over, as when I reach the top of the lighthouse, there's another sick Pokemon. Jasmine sends me all the way across the sea to go and get a special potion, which also happens to be where the 5th gym is. However, rather than heading straight there, I need to level up my Pokemon a little bit more first, so I head back east to do the Lake of Rage storyline. While I do lots of trainer battles, I'm going to talk about why I love this game so much. The world building they add to this generation of games really makes it feel alive. I think the biggest contributor to this was a real-time day-night system and the introduction of daily and weekly events. So, within an individual day, you'll have different Pokemon appearing at different times, trainers that will only battle at night. Then you'll have the events that change based on the day. Special characters, the bug catching contest, even the music they play on the radio changes. You can keep certain trainers in your phone book who will call you to battle or to inform you when Pokemon are swarming. And then there's the Kanto postgame, bringing nostalgia along with an opportunity to see what's happened since the previous games. I wish more Pokemon games got sequels like this. That said, I've never actually played Black 2 or White 2, so that's definitely one to add to the list. Back to the story. At the Lake of Rage, I defeat the Red Gyarados as there's no point in me catching it this run. I speak to a mysterious caped figure named Lance, who mumbles something about radio waves forcing Pokemon to evolve before blasting off into the sky. It seems like another one of those crazy 5G conspiracy theories to me, but when I return to Mahogany Town, I find him beating the shit out of one of the locals, and a secret Team Rocket hideout is revealed. Is he Batman? I follow Batman through the hideout, and after beating up some more people to find out some passwords, we have to make a bunch of electrodes faint to turn off the 5G tower. I'm not sure of the moral implications of all of this, but at least they're not burning fossil fuels. Doing all this opens up what is technically the 7th gym, led by Price. I decide to do this now as I think my team is up to it. Seal is Price's first Pokemon, and my freshly evolved Lantern knocks it out with 2 Sparks. Next, it's Dugong. I get good luck here. Spark paralyses it, then it can't use Rest to recover due to it being fully paralysed. It goes down on turn 3 to another Spark. Lastly, Price sends out Piloswine. I switch to Croconaw, which tanks an Icy Wind and a Blizzard to knock it out with 3 Surfs and win the battle. That was by far the easiest major battle I've had so far, so that's a good sign. Now it's time to surf over to Cyanwood City. On arrival, I pick up the Secret Potion, which becomes the second best potion in this video, after myself of course. Chuck is another easy battle. After trying to intimidate me by throwing a massive stone around, both of his Pokemon go down in 2 hits. Sandslash's critical hit slash helps against Primeape, and Lantern's Spark deals with Poliwrath with the greatest of ease. Picking up the magnet on the way over here to have Lantern hold definitely helped. I return to the lighthouse to give Jasmine the medicine she asked for. It's now been a few days since she sent me on this errand. My delay has probably caused more damage to global shipping routes than the time that boat got stuck sideways in the Suez Canal. Lighthouse Pokemon cured, we can now get the 7th badge from the 6th gym leader. Yeah, the level caps are kind of weird on this game. For Jasmine, I'm more worried about her 2 Magnemites, both of which have Thunderbolt and match up well against the Pokemon in my party. The plan here is to have Weepinbell send them both to sleep so Lantern can surf them. This works okay for Magnemite 1, but Weepinbell takes a heavy hit from Thunderbolt, so I decide to keep Lantern out for Magnemite 2. Despite getting paralysed, Lantern knocks it out, so Jasmine sends out Steelix. I switch to Croconaw, which knocks out Steelix in 2 turns with Surf. That's now 7 out of the 8 gym badges in Johto. Before we go to the final gym, there's yet another emergency to deal with. Team Rocket have taken control of the radio tower and are using it to pump out their generic villain music across the region. Comment below on what one song you would broadcast to the masses if you completed a hostile takeover of a national radio station. Batman is nowhere to be seen here, which is strange because this seems like a much bigger issue than before. I battle my way up one side of the radio tower, only to be told the princess is in another castle. Or more accurately, the director is tied up in a basement under the department store. If Batman wasn't enough, we've now got our Harvey Dent knockoff. I hope things turn out better for this guy. One of the major criticisms about this game is that the level curve is a bit off, resulting in lots of battles with low level trainers in the mid to late game. Admittedly, it does feel ridiculous to be battling grunts with Rattatas of increasing strength 3/4 through the main story. I do like how comically evil they all are though, saying stuff like, "It feels great ordering Pokemon to commit crimes." I imagine that's the kind of philosophy Diego Simeone applies when setting up his teams to play football. In the underground warehouse, Zed shows up for another battle. This is a nice demonstration of how well-rounded my team has become. Feraligatr defeats Golbat, Lantern defeats Magnemite, Coughing poisons Meganium, and then Miltank finishes it off. Feraligatr comes back out to KO Haunter, and then Feraligatr and Sandslash combine to defeat his Sneasel, sending Zed into an existential crisis. I fight my way through the underground, struggling my way through a switch puzzle in a game made for kids, and meet the real director, who gives me the key required to climb up the other side of Radio Tower. After more Pokemon battles and several flights of stairs, I defeat the final executive to send Team Rocket packing forever. With the world saved, I struggle through more children's puzzles in the Ice Path to reach Blackthorn City. The first stop when I arrive here is the Move Deleter's house, finally allowing me to get rid of all those pesky moves that don't begin with the letter S. For the first time in the game, there's a short grind before attempting the next gym leader. I do this to evolve Coughing into Wheezing and level up Feraligatr until it learns Slash. Then I attempt Clair. Okay, I forget that Clair's first Dragonair has Surf, which dooms Sandslash immediately. I switch to Feraligatr, who luckily avoids a Thunder Wave and knocks it out using Slash. I send Sandslash back out for the second Dragonair because it has Thunderbolt. However, at this point, Sandslash has taken enough damage that a critical Dragon Breath knocks it out. I send out Lantern, which heals itself from Thunder Wave using its held berry, then paralyses Dragonair with Spark. Then it gets paralysed again. After some wasted turns back and forth, Lantern knocks out Dragonair 2. I keep Lantern out for Dragonair 3, who I manage to both paralyse with Spark and confuse with the Supersonic before losing Lantern to a series of Dragon Breaths. Feraligatr is sent back out and a Slash reduces its health to the red before Dragonair hurts itself in confusion for the knockout. Kingdra is her ace, but Feraligatr is strong enough now to tank 2 hyper beams from it and secure the win using Slash. That should be enough to earn the final badge, but Claire has other ideas and throws a strop and sends me to Dragon's Den to secure investment for her business idea. Retrieve a Dragon Fang. Sorry, I got the wrong Dragon's Den there. After negotiating the one mandatory whirlpool in this game, and not much else, I retrieved a Dragon Fang from the back of the den. Claire decides that this minor inconvenience was finally enough to prove my strength to her, and awards me the final badge. I take my first steps into Kanto on the way to the Pokémon League. Here, I have to start making some big decisions about how I'm going to use the TMs I've been stocking up on. I teach Shadow Ball and Sleep Talk to Miltank, as I'm planning to use it against Psychic and Ghost Pokémon moving forwards. Sandslash gets to learn Sandstorm earlier than it would through level up. Weeping Bell gets Solar Beam and Sunny Day to finally give it some damaging moves. The big decision is how to deploy Sludge Bomb. It will get the same type of attack bonus with both Weezing and Weeping Bell. Weezing is possibly the better bet at this stage, as it is currently overall the stronger Mon, and is also holding the Poison Barb. But I decided to go with Weeping Bell, as I think this is the better plan for the post game, and it also gives it a move that can do damage without requiring a turn to set up, unlike Solar Beam. Before reaching the Pokémon League, Zed challenges me to a final battle. He starts with Sneasel, which Lantern defeats with a combination of Spark and Surf. Weezing is able to beat Meganium with a Sludge, despite getting paralysed by a Body Slam. Miltank takes out Kadabra in one hit with Shadow Ball. Lantern KOs Golbat using Spark, and Magneton using Surf, before Miltank hits his Haunter with Shadow Ball, and the Idiot AI uses Curse to finish itself off. Like the previous battle with Zed, this was a good demonstration of how balanced a team I can still make with the limited moves available to me. I'm feeling confident, so after a short grind, I decide to challenge the Elite Four with most of my party at level 40 and Miltank at level 35. The reason for this is I'm thinking about the level caps in the post game, but we'll talk about all that later. For now, we're below the cap for the first Elite Four trainer at 42, and 10 levels lower than the champion. I'm going to be healing between battles, but in battle, I can still only use held items, and if I lose to any one of these trainers, I have to battle them all again. Let's see how we get on. First is Will, the Psychic type trainer. Lantern Spark paralyzes Xatu on the first turn, and finishes it off on the second. Miltank comes out to face Exeggutor. Unfortunately, Exeggutor is way too tanky and knocks out Miltank after surviving 2 Shadow Balls. Feraligatr comes in to defeat it with Slash, and then does the same to Jinx. Lantern sweeps through the rest of his team with Spark. Pun intended. Trainer 2 is Koga, with his Poison type team. Miltank squashes Ariados using Strength and Stomp. Sandslash barely survives a pair of Psychics from Venomoth to knock it out using Slash. Feraligatr takes out Forretress using Surf, and Muck using Surf and Slash. Crobat is a bit more of a problem. Spark needs more than 2 hits to KO, and it poisons Lantern. However, I've come prepared yet again, and heal with a held Poison Cure Berry. Koga heals his Crobat with a full restore, and poisons me again with Toxic, but the super effective Spark is able to overcome the damage being dealt and secure the win. Bruno is the third trainer of the Elite Four, and it's nice to see he's still fulfilling his role from the first games as the easiest trainer of this gauntlet. Sandslash darks out against Hitmontop. I use Sandstorm on the turns where Top has dug underground, and Slash on the other turns. Weezing comes out to face Hitmonchan and poisons it with Sludge. The combined chip damage of Poison and Sandstorm help whittle down its HP for Weezing to defeat with a second Sludge. Onyx is fainted by one Surf from Feraligatr, and Weezing comes back out to take out Hitmonlee with Sludge. Weezing stays out for his ace Machamp, but Bruno heals with a max potion just before I can finish it off. Weezing's health is low, so I send out Feraligatr, which narrowly survives a cross chop to finish the job with Surf. The final Elite Four trainer is Karen, who uses Dark types, but also Vileplume for some reason. Umbreon is quite an annoying Pokemon to deal with. It has Sand Attack and Confuse Ray, plus high defense and special defense stats. It doesn't have great attacking moves though, and I get some decent luck with Sand Attack missing and not hurting myself in confusion to defeat it using a combination of Sand Slashes, Slash, and Swift. The not Dark type Vileplume is next. It paralyses my Weezing with Stun Spore, but you know the drill. I have come prepared with the right type of Hellberry. Unluckily for me, it hits with Stun Spore again, and then heals itself using Moonlight, taking advantage of the paralysis. I take advantage of Vileplume getting locked into Petal Dance for a few turns to switch to Weeping Bell to knock it out with the Sludge Bomb. This baits out Houndoom, which Feraligatr KOs with Surf, despite Karen healing it with a max potion. Gengar is also not a Dark type, but thankfully, Karen corrects this mistake herself this time by using Curse with less than half health left to make it faint. Murkrow is her final Pokemon, and I get great paralysis luck with Spark yet again to allow me to finish it off with Surf. Elite Four complete, that leaves one final battle. The champion, Lance. Dude, where were you when the radio tower fell? This guy gets upset about a bunch of Magikarp evolving, but can't get out of bed when there's a literal hostage situation at a national broadcaster. Some superhero you are. This final showdown is a step above everything I've faced up to this point. Gyarados is the first Pokemon. It's dual water and flying type, so a pair of quad strength sparks from Lantern take it out, but not without getting hit first by a Hyper Beam. Next is the first of 3 Dragonites, and this is where it all starts to fall apart. The first one has both Thunder and Thunder Wave, so I send out Sand Slash to neutralise it. However, I'm just too low level to do significant damage, so after getting hit by a couple of Twisters, I raise a Sandstorm and decide to leave Sand Slash to its fate. I send Weezing out to continue slowly chipping away with Sludge, but Dragonite starts dealing heavy damage with Thunder to knock it out. I try sending out Weeping Bell, which will resist Thunder, but Dragonite knocks it out with a single Hyper Beam as the Sandstorm subsides. Miltank comes out to finish off Dragonite 1 with a Stomp, but there's still 2 more to go and I've lost half of my team. I send out Lantern for Dragonite 2, but it instantly gets wrecked by a Hyper Beam. Miltank returns and starts dealing damage with Strength and Stomp. I get lucky when Thunder Wave misses the first time, but it hits the second time to paralyse. Dragonite then uses Blizzard, but Miltank toughs it out and brings the foe's health down to red, before fainting to a Hyper Beam. My final Pokemon is Feraligatr. I've been saving him for Charizard and Aerodactyl, but sadly I don't get that far. After finishing off Dragonite 2, Dragonite 3 engages Beast Mode with Outrage and hands me a painful loss. It's clear that I can handle the Elite Four perfectly fine, but I'm just too underleveled for Lance. I do take away one big lesson from this defeat though. Miltank is the key to all of this. So, I train up Miltank to level 40 and try again. The rest of the party is between levels 40 and 42 when I enter the gauntlet for the second time. There are a few highlights in this second attempt which are different to the first. During the battle with Wheel, Miltank survives with 1 HP against Exeggutor and then takes out Jinx too, because Miltank is the key to all of this. In the Koga battle, I take advantage of Muck using Minimize to deal double damage with Stomp. Miltank is the key. In the Bruno battle, Hitmonlee uses Swagger on Weezing, which only has the effect of powering up Sludge so much that it knocks it out in one hit. I've had the TM for Swagger for quite a while now, but in my experience this move does more harm than good. Karen gives me a lot of grief in this run. It's like I'm a manager or something. Umbreon manages to defeat my Sand Slash with the help of a massive critical hit feint attack. Later on, Houndoom manages to make Feraligatr faint from 2 crunches. We still get the win though, so after healing up, it's time for the grudge match with Lance. The rematch starts off a lot like the first battle. Lantern knocks out Gyarados with 2 sparks, but gets hit with a powerful Hyper Beam in return. The first of the Dragonite trio comes out and Sand Slash sets up a Sandstorm. Hyper Beam misses the first time, which is crucial as it allows me an extra turn of Slash and Sandstorm damage. Hyper Beam hits second time around, however, Sand Slash manages to hold on and the extra turn Dragonite needs to recharge is enough to complete the knockout. Dragonite 2 is sent out, so I switch in Miltank, which need I remind you is the key to all of this. I get lucky again as Thunder Wave fails on the first turn, allowing me to get 2 turns of strength in before it finds its mark on the second turn. This turns out to be fatal, as Miltank is fully paralysed on the turn after, and Dragonite 2 hits 2 consecutive blizzards to cause it to faint. Turns out Miltank was not the key to all of this after all. I send out Weezing. Blizzard misses, allowing me a free turn of Sludge, which fortunately poisons the foe. Dragonite hits yet another blizzard for half of Weezing's health, then faints to poison damage. Weezing being out means that Lance sends out Aerodactyl next. I send out Feraligatr, who knocks it out with 1 Surf after getting hit by a Hyper Beam first. Lance decides enough is enough and sends out his third and most powerful Dragonite. I switch Weezing back in, but Dragonite's Outrage knocks it out before I can land a hit. I send out Lantern in response as Dragonite continues to Outrage. Lantern just holds on with only 10 HP left and hits a Spark which manages to paralyse. Even better, Dragonite's Outrage ends after just 2 turns, causing it to get confused in addition to paralysis. It hurts itself in confusion twice as I continue to chip away with Spark, but with its health now in the red, Lance uses a full restore, giving Dragonite a fresh bill of health. Hyper Beam finally ends Lantern's participation in this battle. I send out Sand Slash, setting up a Sandstorm on the turn Dragonite needs to recharge. Slash gets a vital critical hit on the turn after, before Outrage claims yet another victim. Rather than risk Feraligatr taking more damage, I swap to Weeping Bell, and its held Quick Claw allows it to hit first with Sludge Bomb, finally getting rid of this monster dragon. I am so glad I taught Sludge Bomb to Weeping Bell. I wouldn't have had time to charge up a Solar Beam, and Sleep Powder may have missed. Lance's last Pokemon is Charizard. I could try my luck at sending it to sleep, but Flamethrower will finish off Weeping Bell if that doesn't work. The risk with Feraligatr is that Charizard might be quicker and it could knock it out with a Hyper Beam. I decide to take a chance with my starter Pokemon, the one who I started this crazy journey with. Then, my heart sinks. Charizard is faster, and uses Hyper Beam. But my boy Steve the Feraligatr survives it with 20 HP to spare. It replies with Surf, which knocks out Charizard in a single turn, defeating the champion. We've done it. My ragtag team of misfits have beaten the game, using only moves that begin with the letter S. Everyone doubted me on this journey. I even remember my school teachers telling me as a kid that I would never amount to anything when I grew up, especially not someone who would beat Pokémon Silver using only moves beginning with the letter S, which is oddly specific admittedly. But who's laughing now, eh? I am champion of Johto. Professor Oak compliments me on my ball handling skills as the credits roll. I can now retire to rest on my laurels with nothing left to prove. Nah, who am I kidding? I've got to complete Kanto as well, yeah? Well, before I do that, let's take a look at these pesky level caps, which are all over the place in Kanto. In fact, most of them are lower than the cap for the champion, and one of them is even lower than the 8th gym leader in Johto. Yes, I'm talking about you, Janine. So, for the battles where my main party will be overleveled, I'm going to be bringing some very old friends out of the storage boxes to help me out. Lieutenant Surge starts off straightforward enough, with Sandslash defeating Raichu using Slash, and Lantern defeating Magneton using Surf. It quickly devolves into hilarity though, as his first Electrode uses Explosion, knocking out my Sandslash. Not one for turning the other cheek, I get my revenge by asking my Weezing to use Self-Destruct to knock out Electabuzz, his ace. Miltank mops up the final Electrode with Stomp and Strength. I face Erica next, and she is completely swept by Weezing with multiple uses of Sludge. After that, I make the short journey over to Saffron City and face Sabrina. Miltank defeats Espeon and Mr. Mime with Shadow Ball, but isn't quite strong enough to take out her Alakazam in one hit. Alakazam is faster, so after Sabrina heals it, a second Psychic knocks Miltank out. Lantern comes in to finish the job with Spark. Now I decide to head down to Fuchsia to face Janine. This is where I bring some old friends off the bench as I mentioned earlier. Crobat is her first Pokemon. I've evolved Pidgeotto into Pidgeot and used Swift to knock it out. Her first Weezing is next, and I send out the returning Quagsire to deal with it with Surf, with a held berry curing poison status along the way. I then alternate back and forth. Pidgeot takes out Ariados with Swift, Quagsire returns to defeat the second Weezing with Surf again, and finally Pidgeot is sent back out to deal with Venomoth, having a great counter for Venomoth's double team as Swift never misses. Of course, none of this would have been possible without our Lord and Saviour Paris in the party to provide her blessing. After a brief detour to restore power to what seemed like the entirety of Kanto, I face Misty. Lantern defeats Golduck with 2 Sparks. I switch in Weeping Bell for Quagsire, setting up a Sunny Day to knock it out with a Solar Beam. I paralyse Lapras with Spark, but it uses Perish Song before I knock it out with another Spark. Starmie is our ace. I again manage to paralyse it with Spark. Expecting her to heal, and with the Perish count about to hit 0, I play it safe and switch in Miltank to finish the battle with a Shadow Ball. As you'd expect, Brock is a total pushover for my team. Feraligatr one-hits Graveler and Rhyhorn with Surf, and Weeping Bell's Solar Beam takes out Kabutops, Omastar, and Onix. In the midst of all this, I have another confrontation with Zed in Mount Moon. Even though this is the strongest he's been, there's very little new to report here, as it plays out similarly to my previous 2 battles with him, using super effective moves where I can and just brute forcing where I can't. Maybe he should have gone down the scientist route after all. Another easy battle next, as Blaine's team of Fire Pokemon has no chance against Feraligatr's Surf. That's 7 out of 10 Kanto badges now, and time to fight Blue, who appears to have learned the Apparition spell from Lance. Before fighting Blue, I catch an Oddish to show to Bill's grandfather, who gives me a Leaf Stone in return. This means I can finally evolve Weeping Bell into Victory Bell. I am very underleveled when facing Blue, due to using most of the trainer battles in Kanto to level up my team for the Janine battle. Lantern defeats Pidgeot without issue using Spark, but Exeggutor becomes a problem. Much like my earlier battle against one in the Elite Four, this Pokemon is very tanky when I'm underleveled, so Miltank requires about 3 or 4 hits to defeat it. I start panicking when a Solar Beam almost knocks Miltank out in one hit. As Blue uses his first full restore, I switch up tactics, starting off with Shadow Ball at full health, then changing to Stomp to hopefully cause Exeggutor to flinch while it's charging up Solar Beam. This works once, but Blue uses another full restore to heal. In hindsight, I now realise that this Exeggutor didn't know Psychic, meaning that Weezing or Victory Bell would have been the optimum play here. Eventually I run out of flinching luck, and Miltank is knocked out by a second Solar Beam. Weezing finishes off the coconut tree with Sludge, but this baits out Alakazam next, and without Miltank, I have a bit of a problem. Alakazam raises a Reflect to reduce damage from Feraligatr's Slash, then hits with Psychic to bring my health down to a third. I don't want to lose Feraligatr here, so I try switching Sandslash in, but Psychic immediately knocks it out. Lantern has higher HP and special defense stats, so survives another Psychic and defeats Alakazam with Spark. Feraligatr comes back out to knock out Rhydon with one Surf. I send out Lantern for Gyarados, and a Hyper Beam knocks out Lantern before I can hit it with a Spark. I send out Weezing to get a free hit with Sludge. The next turn is pivotal for the whole battle. Gyarados uses Rain Dance to set up a Hydro Pump, and then Wheezing Sludge gets a critical hit and poisons in the same turn. Gyarados uses Hydro Pump as expected, but Wheezing holds on with 4 HP left, and the poison damage, combined with another Sludge, leave Blue with 1 Pokemon left. His ace, Arcanine. In a situation reminiscent of my second battle with Lance, I send out my wounded Feraligatr against a faster and much higher leveled fire type, knowing that one bad hit for me could end my chances. Arcanine hits with extreme speed, and would you believe it, Feraligatr barely holds on again. Crucially, it's still raining on this turn, so a single surf from Feraligatr is enough to win the battle. My word, Feraligatr has been clutch in these 2 big battles. All that's left now is to face Red. I tried facing Red at level 55. I managed to get through half of his team, defeating Pikachu, Espeon and Snorlax, only losing Wheezing in return, but his Venusaur completely walls me and wipes the floor with the rest of my team. I return with my whole team at level 60. He starts with Pikachu, which is a whole 21 levels higher than my team. However, it's important to note here that Pikachu is completely rubbish, and by sending out Sandslash, his best attacking moves are ineffective. Pikachu uses Charm, but that makes no difference as Sandslash hits a critical hit Slash to knock it out in 1. With Sandslash in, Red sends out Venusaur next, and I switch to Victory Bell. What follows is 3.5 minutes of repeatedly sending Venusaur to sleep, using Sludge Bomb to slowly lower its health, only for Venusaur to wake up quickly, use Sunny Day and Synthesis to heal back to full health. Eventually, Venusaur stays asleep for more than 2 turns, and Victory Bell's Sludge Bombs knock it out. Next is Red's Espeon. I send out Miltank to try and beat it with Shadow Ball, but Psychic hits harder than insert your edgy joke here, and knocks the key to all of this out before it can land a second hit. I send out Feraligatr and get hit by another heavy Psychic, before taking it out with Surf. Joy of joys, it's Snorlax next. But I have a plan, and that plan is to bring back the tactic that worked for me at the very start of this challenge, spamming Sand Attack. When Snorlax's accuracy can't go any lower, I raise the Sandstorm, then start using Slash to chip away at its health. I'm lucky in avoiding paralysis when Body Slam does manage to hit, and a couple of timely critical hits help Sandslash bring down Goliath. Red now sends out Blastoise, so I bring out Lantern. I managed to make an arse off the first turn, as I switched Surf to the top of the move list while levelling against the wild Pokemon in the area. I obviously want to use Spark here, but rather than selecting it from second in the list, I decided that the second to last Pokemon in the final battle is a great time to try and switch it back. I accidentally pressed the wrong button and used Surf instead. Great work, very big brain stuff here. Thankfully, Blastoise doesn't have a great moveset to counter Lantern, so keeps using Surf itself, and I eventually take it down with a timely critical hit Spark. Red is down to his last Pokemon, Charizard. I try sticking it out with Lantern, but one Flamethrower is enough to make it faint before I can land a hit. I send out Feraligatr. Charizard uses Fire Spin, which seems like an odd choice. This allows Feraligatr to hit 1 Surf for over half health. I'm hoping Feraligatr can hang on one more turn like it has done so many times before in this challenge, but this time, Flamethrower proves to be too much. This brings me to a big decision. Sandslash and Victory Bell are both at low health and will easily get knocked out in one more turn. I could try and hope that Victory Bell's Quick Claw will allow it a chance to use Sleep Powder, or maybe even Poison Zard with Sludge Bomb. Then there's Wheezing. Wheezing could also try and inflict poison with Sludge, but the last thing I want here is for Red to use a full restore. There is, however, an option that will guarantee a knockout, if Wheezing can just hold on that long. Wheezing survives a Flamethrower, and the Break Glass in case of emergency self-destruct takes out both Pokemon to seal the victory over Red and complete the challenge. Yeah, that's probably the appropriate reaction, mate. So there we are. The credits roll for a second time, or like 5th or something like that. I went back and beat Lance a few times with levelling up. And we finally have beaten all of Pokémon Silver using only moves that begin with S. This was actually really great fun to record and waste 50 hours of my life playing through. And probably countless more hours as well learning how to edit this video. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. This is my first video of this kind, so it's taken a lot of time to learn everything and put it all together. There'll be more videos like this coming soon, so please subscribe to see them when they appear. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.